Hello, and congratulations for managing to reach the final lesson in the First Steps Piano Tutor book. For this lesson, you'll be looking at the final details that are needed if you're considering taking the First Steps Piano exam sheet with the Victoria College. We will learn about quite a few things, and that is shown in the teaching aims. So you can see in the blue, in the teaching aims book, you're going to learn about the F, P, MF and MP dynamics. You're going to learn about the scale of C major. You're going to learn about tempo markings. You are going to learn about tied notes. And finally, you're going to do a little bit more practice of playing both hands together. Now the lesson starts by having a look at dynamics, and the first page clearly shows you all the dynamic ranges that you get in music. So dynamics is talking about how loud or how quiet you play. So to play loud on the piano, you hit the key harder. And to play quiet, you hit the key softer. So the dynamics that you've got shown on this first page, the first one is the F sign, which stands for forte, which means to play loud. So if you see that sign in a piece of music, you just have to play a little bit louder by hitting the keys just a little bit harder. Not too much so they're harsh, but just enough to make a contrast in the sound. The opposite of the forte sign is the piano sign. And when you see this sign in a piece of music, it means to play quiet, and it's called a piano sign. Now, the interesting thing that a lot of people don't know is that the piano was named after the loud and the quiet sign, and it's called the piano forte. Think about it, the quiet, loud instrument. Now in between the two dynamics, you have MF and you have MP. MF stands for mezzo forte, which means moderately loud, and MP stands for mezzo piano, which means moderately quiet. So you have a chance now to have a go at some of these dynamics and try them in pieces of music that you've already done before. So if you go over the page, you have a happy song. Now you have played this piece before, but you'll see now that the first line of happy song is played forte, which is loud. And at bar 5, you have a piano sign, which is to play quiet. And finally, the piece finishes off with another forte sign to play loud. So I'll demonstrate this piece to you now. So you can see straight away the difference between the loud and the quiet sections. Now the next piece, Oats and Beans, is a little bit harder because it deals with the dynamics MP and MF. So it's a little bit more difficult to try and get the dynamics right in between loud and quiet, and particularly between mezzo piano and mezzo forte. So you need to practice on your own piano and get the feel of your own piano to understand how you can sort the keys out so you make the dynamic differences. I will now play Oats and Beans for you. right, but it's well worth getting the dynamics right at this level in these early stages. Now, if you do decide to do the VCM exam, you are required to play a scale, and the scale is a scale of C major. Now, a scale is a group of 8 notes, and when the scale is played going up, it is called an ascending scale, and when the scale is played down, it is called a descending scale. Now, a scale has got 8 notes in, we haven't got 8 fingers. It would be great if we had. So what we have to do, we have to make an extension with our thumb. So you play the first 3 notes of the scale, starting on middle C with your right hand. Then you tuck your thumb underneath, and then you can go up to the top notes. And when you do the descending scale going down, use all your fingers up first, and then if you look, you've got 3 notes left. So you put your 3rd finger over the top. So I'll now play the scale going ascending and descending for you. You're also required to play the scale of C major in your left hand as well. It's exactly the same principle, but you're reversing everything around. So again, you put both your hands on to get your hand position. You're starting the scale of C on your little finger on the low C on the piano, and you play 5 notes. There's 3 notes left, so your 3rd finger goes over the top. Then on the way down, it's 1, 2, 3, thumb goes under, so I'll now demonstrate that scale ascending and descending. Now the next task is a nice little piece, just in your right hand, called the Scaly Snake, and demonstrates the importance of playing scales, because music often has scale passages within it, and this piece is a fine example of this. It's called the Scaly Snake because you have a scale of C major going up, ascending, and you also have a scale of C major going down, descending within it, and then continues with extra notes afterwards. Now if you look closely at the notes, you'll notice that it actually makes the shape of a snake, hence the fact the piece is called a Scaly Snake. So that covers the section concerning the C major scale and scales. So we move on now to talking about tempo markings in pieces. So tempo, we're looking at how fast or how slow to play a piece of music. So words are often chosen to show the rate of speed, and these are called tempo markings. So you might have, for example, the word adagio, and that means slow. You might have the word andante, which means at a walking pace. You might have the word moderato, which means moderately speed, And finally you've got the word allegro, which means fast. And sometimes the words can be combined together. For example, allegro moderato, which stands for moderately fast. So whenever you play a piece of music, look closely at the tempo marking, which is always shown at the beginning of a piece of music. And that will show you how fast or slow you're expected to play the piece. So in Oats and Beans, you can see now that this piece has got andante, which is at a walking pace. But look closely too, you'll still see the dynamics in this. So as well as playing at the right speed, you also have to put the right dynamics within it. So the final section in this book deals with something called the tied note. Now a tie is a curved line that connects two notes together on the staff. So when you have a tie, you join up the counts together. So the example shows two dotted minims tied together. So that's actually worth 6 counts. So your next task is a writing task called musical maths. And you've got to count how many counts the notes are when you tie them together, and you add them up and you put your answer in the selected boxes here. This then leads to you playing your 5th practice task, which is playing tied notes. And you can see in this piece you've got tied notes. Now for the first time you're actually playing notes hands together for the first time. Before you had a little bit of right hand and you had a little bit of left hand, but now you're playing the hands together at the same time. This might prove to be a little bit difficult at first, so what I suggest you do is break this piece down into little stages and start off first by practicing all the right hand and getting that right. Then move on to the left hand and practice that. And when you feel happy with that, then you can try playing this piece both hands together. You'll notice again that you've got your forte sign, your piano sign, so they need to be put in as an extra detail. But save that detail until you're happy with the notes. Learn the notes first, then add the dynamics later as you're gaining confidence. Here's an example of playing tied notes at an andante tempo. And that completes your final lesson for your First Steps tutor book.